Well, hello there. Welcome back to the Reign of Shane. I am Shane, and as we had mentioned in the previous video, we're in a pandemic. I don't know if you knew that. We're in a pandemic. And I had been needing to use a hustle that was necessary early in my marriage to help fill the financial gaps. I have been needing to use that again post education, post college. Hours have been being cut at work, and that's just where I'm at, needing to help fill those gaps. Video games had kind of dried up in my area. People just weren't selling them. And usually, maybe the Nintendo would be in a lull, and then you could jump to the Super Nintendo or Dreamcast or something like that. You could just kind of bounce around generations, and you would be able to find that honey hole, that hot spot. And it was just nothing at all. No video games were working. People weren't selling. People weren't necessarily buying either at this point. So I am just trying to figure out what the heck I can do. And one of the video game sites that I follow and a buddy that I know back in Ohio had started selling sports cards in his video game shop. I was like, man, I freaking loved sports cards as a kid. Like, it was huge. I still have like complete sets all the way up to 95, and then kind of took a little bit of a hiatus there for a little while, and then picked up cards here and there. But for the most part, it was my youth, like all the way from elementary school all the way up into high school, collecting cards, and then kind of lost a little bit of its luster with just the way that the card market was going, and where I was in my life at that current point in time. But I remember sports cards being a thing. It was huge. It was really, really big. There was the big boom back then. My dad was really into it, and it was something that we did together. And so I was kind of thinking, man, I think this is a thing. This is potentially a thing. Is this a thing? So I was talking to my buddy, and he's like, yeah, they're really starting to pick up. I was like, oh, all right. So I had that in my head, and I had kind of looked around a little bit and bought a box here and there, but nothing too serious. Because I was still trying to play in my wheelhouse, and that was video games. So new, old, didn't matter. I was trying to fill that void, playing my wheelhouse. So there I was, 4 in the morning, with my wife, and we are going to see if we can get a PS5. They had been at Walmart's sporadically, and we gotta get something. We gotta try and fill this gap. It's gotta happen. We're running low on options. And so we walk up to the door, and there's a couple guys that are already there, and I'm like, gosh dang, man, if there's PlayStations, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get one, because there just weren't that many that they were putting out. And he goes, you here for sports cards? No, I'm here for a PlayStation. Oh, well, I'm here for sports cards. I've been really hitting these sports cards. They've been really hot lately. I was like, oh, all right, that's cool. And so we started chatting, and we were both big football fans. He's a Vikings fan. I'm a Chargers fan. So we were able to have like this nice general conversation on sports, and then it moved on, and it was an enlightening conversation on how he had been starting to flip cards. He'd been buying boxes for $20 and then selling them for $40, selling them for $60. For me, it wasn't that I didn't think you could resell cards, but it wasn't sealed. I wasn't thinking that you would sell the boxes as they were sealed. For me, when I was a kid, and it was buying individual cards, that's how you did it. And he was talking sealed stuff, and I was like, dang, man, that sounds pretty stinking good. So I mean, we get inside, And we tootle over to the sports card section. I have my wife with me, so she goes back to the PlayStations. We were very fortunate that day, and we were able to get a PlayStation that day. There were no sports cards, but it was a valuable lesson and an enlightening conversation and a just a random friendship that came out of nowhere. There was something that you wouldn't expect. He was like, "Hey man, give me your number." As we were walking out, got his number, and we talk all the time now. And it was a moment, in time that I needed that, and I don't know. I'd like to think that he needed it too. At that moment, we were both card nuts as kids, and he was introduced to it by a friend who was telling him, "Hey man, I think you could really make money doing sports. It was winter time. He's a painter. He's not making a whole bunch of money painting in the winter because what are you painting? Especially if you're into painting exteriors. You know, it's cold. You're not painting the outside of your house in the middle of winter." And it was great. It changed my whole perspective from I don't need to potentially look at selling individual cards. I can open boxes or sell boxes, just sell boxes and start to fill that gap. And so as time progressed, picking up boxes, and the boxes are starting to sell. It was nuts. It was crazy, and I was like, I found it. This is it. This is the thing. This is it. This is my new hustle. This is how I'm going to help to bridge that gap to fill the needs that my family currently has. So now I have this thing that I used to love and still have that desire. It hit the feels, it hit the feels on the inside. Like I feel like I know this. I've continued to follow sports. I know which people are hot, what's going on, and I can take all that knowledge that's there and put it into these cards, into these boxes, like into what's good, what's new, what's desirable for people. I just felt like that's what I could do. This is it. This is going to be the thing. This is totally how it's going to be done. And it's doing something that you loved. Like I said, gives you the feels. Finding those hobbies that give you the feels makes it so much more enjoyable, even though at this particular juncture it's a necessity. Like we needed it. It was a necessity, but it's a joyful necessity, if that makes sense to you guys. A joyful necessity. So what I want you to do is I want you to go to rainashane.com, and I want you to click join now. I'm going to put a link in the comments down below, and I want you to join. I want you to continue on here with me. I want you to get any tips, any tricks videos, and any other things that I'm going to be uploading onto the channel. Please click join now.